Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of season 4 or 5. I honestly keep forgetting at times what season we're on. I believe it's 4 because it started in 2020, so yeah, I believe we're on the 4th season. If I got that wrong, I'm going to double check right now, but back here again with our guest,
Mr. Solis.
and we're back here today uh, in a new environment.
Oh my.
Yeah, I won't.
Changes.
I
Changes
won't go.
scare.
Oh, sorry. We're in season 5. I just double checked it right now.
I was going to check your math. If season one started in 2020, then mathematically 2024 would be the start of the fifth season.
Yeah. The thing that always trips me up is it started in July, so it's like I always have to
Mhm.
remember the date and then start going through. But yeah, season 5. But like I said, I won't go into too much detail. But we are in a new setting because I don't know if I ever said it officially on the podcast, but my family and I moved.
Goodness.
Yeah. And I won't go into
You
too
had
much
it with
detail.
California. You said, I'm out of here.
Yeah, no longer in California, but it's funny. My as my dad said, because I mentioned it on the other podcast that I have as well, and like my dad
Mhm.
was like, yeah, saying you live in L.A. is a lot easier because it's so huge, it's so broad, but where we're living now, you can't really say because it's so like pinpoint. As
Yeah.
compared to before when I'm like, oh yeah, I live in LA. It's like, yeah, you could say you live in LA because it could be all over the place. No one knows what part of LA you live in, but where we're
You
at,
could
it's
tech
more.
Jack, you could still tell people you live in LA and you wouldn't be, you know, lying by some people's definition.
You're not wrong.
You're
Uh,
west of the Mississippi? Ah, city boy, huh?
oh man, but sir, before we get into things, how are you?
Oh, overwhelmed, Jack. It's November. We are 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving break, if you can fathom that. I know that things, I'm sure, are a little different when you're outside of the education calendar, right?
Yeah,
But the holiday's still coming up. We got Veterans Day on Monday. That's a welcome breath of fresh air, but really, that just creates more work on Tuesday when you get back in. But we're holding our head above water. Jack, how are you?
I'm doing all right, adjusting to the move pretty well. Um, I've been getting my room set up. Today was really the one day that I decided to go full head on and like started getting a ton of things set up. My desk for my PC had just come in Tuesday, so I got
Yeah?
that assembled. And then another thing, so I had told Mr. Solis, the move was very chaotic, and I told him in detail about some of the things. But another thing that happened was, so before the move, a couple of my friends came over to help. I forgot. I think it was on like a Wednesday or Thursday. I don't remember. But on that day, they were helping me pack my PC, and they were like, "Oh, you should take out the GPU in it because it could get really damaged if you leave it in there, especially
Mm.
with the bumpy road." So we took it out, and I had planned to take it with me personally in the car, and I just blanked at the last second, and it's on me. But I guess someone must have grabbed it, put it in one of the. At the time we didn't know if they put it in one of the containers, boxes, bags because we had all sorts of stuff in the U-Haul. Didn't
Yeah.
know. So this entire time, my dad was trying to help me find it, And the funny thing was, I told my dad, I'm like, it's not important to me because, there's a lot more important things going on with this move. I can wait. But, he still wanted to find it. And then, funny enough, I wake up one morning and my dad, or I think my mom comes to me and she's like, I think Abuelita found it while looking for her own stuff, like, because she had, like, her bag of, I guess, like, clothes, and it was just in
Yeah.
there. So, found it, put it back in, got things working. Then the desk came. So, I got that all up and running. And today, I'll give Mr. Solis a little peek here. Obviously, we're not a visual podcast, so y'all can't see, but got some posters.
I will do my best to describe for the listening audience what I'm looking at. I see Phoenix Suns, the poster for the basketball team now. I see some Cardinals banners. Uh huh.
No, what
Uh
you
huh.
really see is this section right here for my Philadelphia teams.
Yeah, we got some bobbleheads of some folk.
Yeah.
Is that a Bronson Reed action figure?
Yep. EO
And Io
back before she had her name
Shirai?
changed. And then look at this one. My dad got me this one for Christmas.
Oh, that's great. That's a Mr. Brody Lee.
Yeah. So, getting quite accustomed already. And I know it's been a week already, but, sir, since we didn't have anything last week to cover, I wanted to still have the spirit of Halloween, and I'm wearing my Halloween costume right now. Can you tell what I am?
You are the best in the world. CM Punk.
No, I'm actually a rack of dishes because I'm washed.
Ah! Got him.
I was trying to figure out what to wear today, and I saw this shirt, and I came up with that. And so when I showed my dad the finished room, I showed him the shirt, and I was like, I have a Halloween joke that I'm ready to use with this shirt.
Took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Actually, it's on Punk, right? Like, I don't look worse for wear.
And then it was funny. One of my friends was joking around me, and they were like, because they were like talking about coming to visit, and they were like, "Who's the person you'd least want to show up at your house?" And I was like, "CM Punk. I've been talking too much trash about him."
That's incredible.
Oh man, but getting right into the wrestling. We are here to cover Crown Jewel 2024.
Yes, sir.
A very odd card, I would say, because as we learned, we recorded. I think last time we recorded also on a Thursday or a Wednesday, one of those where the news had already come through Raw that what would be taking place at this event with the Crown Jewel Championship for men and women, where the two world title holders would face off against one another for this championship.
Yes, in matches that are reminiscent of Survivor Series of yesteryear, where it was all about brand supremacy, but maybe not so heavy-handed. This is a little more subtle, as subtle as you can be, with a couple of belts that are about the size of the city of Riyadh itself.
Yeah, and the biggest surprise, sir, is that we have 7 matches on the card.
I'm so excited that you brought that up because, frankly, I was impressed and intrigued. But like you said, Jack, it's a weird card, and we'll get into it because as I watched the show, and I watched it twice because I fell asleep multiple times during that first run, the order is weird. Like, you had 7 matches to order, and you put them in a weird order that I'm going to call out throughout our coverage.
Yeah, it was very odd, the direction they decided to go with the way they ordered this card. Starting off, we have, as Bleacher Report has it titled, Bloodline versus Bloodline.
I mean, you get the sense that the Crown Jewel match is going to end the show. Cody versus Gunther. Champion versus champion. So Roman's going to abide by the rule he said established a long time ago. If he's not last, he's first.
Yeah. And it was funny because, early show, so it's up in the morning. As my dad and I are waiting to see, what's going to be the first match, he goes off to make himself breakfast. And I see it's the Bloodline versus Bloodline, so I go to him in the kitchen. I'm like, all right, the Bloodline starting things off. We don't have to worry. We can make breakfast, eat breakfast, and get back in time for them to have finished their entrances.
Wow, Jack. Oh, that was long. That was long. And it was, with the end, like the show start and the pyro and the entrances. Do you know how long it was?
I want to say upwards of 20 minutes.
It was closing in on a half hour before the bell rang.
Yeah, and I think what especially added to it was didn't the Usos and Roman all make separate entrances?
I was disappointed that Jimmy didn't get his own song because I like it more than Jay's. But he came out with Roman to his updated version of his song, his updated and worse version of his song.
Yeah,
and commentary are working overtime or doing double duty from the get-go, Jack, because what they immediately begin to tell me, the weary watcher who's fallen asleep because it's been a long semester, is that Jack Solo, is he a better tribal chief than Roman Reigns was?
I heard them bringing that up.
The fact of the matter is, Jack, he's got three guys behind him who are showing no signs of dissension, no signs of mistrust. And, they were bringing up that Roman was literally gaslighting those guys, literally beating them up. Solo has not raised a hand to any of these guys. And you even got Jacob Fatu, who, spoiler alert, is like the star of this match, yelling, "I love you, Solo." I mean, nobody was saying that about Roman to that degree and that volume,
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh gosh, is he? I've never heard it put that way.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the match, sir?
Everything Jacob did is incredible, right? I don't know how I felt about like Jay not wanting to tag Roman in. That was weird. That was like, I mean, you're trying to win a match, right? You're trying to beat your brother, I think.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know. I got like him and Roman feeling uneasy, but that was a weird way to go about it, I think.
Yeah. Definitely was very confused with some of the directions they took, but like you said, Jacob Fatu, the highlight of these matches for the most part,
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not just me hating, but I was glad to see this one start off, get it out the way.
I mean, as much as you can get anything out the way when the whole thing, it took 45 minutes.
Yeah.
How about that botch pin, sir?
Oh, yeah, that was pretty off-putting to me.
Jimmy really showing himself to be the Tongaloa of the Usos. Everybody's got one.
Oh, man.
That was cringe. That was bad.
Yeah. And then we have the after-match theatrics where, they're beating up on Roman, they're beating up on the Usos, and Sami Zayn comes out. And again, like commentary again, mentioning the fact of what happened on Raw, seeing Solo and Sami talking together. So it's like you're wondering what Sami's going to do. Sami goes to help Roman and the Usos, leads to Solo being in the middle with all four men in one corner. It's looking like Roman's going to hit him with a Superman punch, except Solo moves out the way for Sami Zayn to hit Roman with a kick midair, and for everyone to just be left confused after the fact.
This is another thing, Jack, right? So Jay and Roman can't get on the same page for some reason. Like, I can kind of get into this. This, Jack, like, how does Roman not sit up and go, my bad, man, he moved. Of course he moved. They move. You know what I mean? Like, how are they going to try to make me believe he's sitting there going, how could Sami do this to me again? Come on now. Come on now.
Yeah, and not only that, going for a haluva kick in the middle of the ring, that's a choice if I've ever seen one.
But again, kudos to, if not Jacob Fatu, right? Kudos to Solo, really, who's like, I think he's moving away, Jack, from trying to take himself too seriously. And he's sort of like, I don't know, he's doing little things that make me enjoy his character. So, like, he rolls out of the ring and he laughs, mouth wide open, like a brat. You know what I mean? He's a young guy, and he's just like, got him. And I feel like we've seen a lot of that on SmackDown. Like, I'm thinking of when Jay came in and interrupted him, and Solo with his body language just sort of goes, whatever, man, just do your yeet thing. Hurry up, get it over with. And, like, that's not something Roman would have done, and that's not something April Solo would have done.
Yeah.
He's like, fine, I don't care. He cares.
Oh, man. But
Solo pinned Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
People have pinned Roman Reigns this year, and one of them is Solo.
Crazy reality we're living in. But we move forward to our next match, which is for the women's tag titles. You have...
I'm already shook, Jack, because you had a match with 6 people, and the next match you put on has 8 people.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have spaced these out a bit.
Yeah. You got Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill defending their women's tag titles against Kairi Sane and Io Sky, Chelsea Green and Piper Niven, and Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend. And I want to mention this because I believe it was either the last episode or the episode. No, I think it was the last episode because it was when you were talking about Bailey and Nia. You know, you mentioned about wanting to see some women from NXT get called up, especially with all the influx of Julia, Vakur, Delta now, or Zarya, I think is her new name. You know, even
Uh,
Jordan Grace showing up there now. So it's like it could come time to help move some people up to freshen the women's division. And here you have it right
and
here
fresh
with
in the women's
Jakara and
tag
Ash.
division.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Jack, because I watch as much NXT as I do, to hear their music play, to see their entrance with the green and the yellow, it's funny. I haven't felt this way in a long time since the old NXT Gold days, right?
Yeah.
When, they were calling people up and presenting them as you saw them in NXT. You're like, look at this. Look at them. This was in a tiny little room in Florida, and now they're on a big old stage, and it looks great.
Yeah. So, Fatal 4-Way for these tag titles. Again, you know, I always bring this up. I understand it can get a bit chaotic, but it always confuses me that like they're constantly flipping how they do these multi-team matches because it's like sometimes they'll do the one person from each team in the ring at the same time, and other times they'll do what they did here where it's like only one person from two teams and the other teams have to tag in if they want to get involved.
I agree. It's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, and it's definitely led to some blunders in the past where it's like, was that person even legal? Did they get this right? You know?
Oh man, kudos to the ref for following any and all of it, right? Because even the commentary were like losing track of who's legal.
Yeah. But what were your thoughts on this match?
On NXT, Damage Control, as I will call them, took on Metaphor in a match that got interrupted by Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. I frankly enjoyed it more than this match. There were more people, and they tried more spots. There were a lot of spots, Jack, but it's one of those matches. It's one of those matches where some of them spots just took a beat longer than they should have, and I go, uh-oh, my disbelief. It's not. It's falling. It's not suspended.
Yeah. I did like some interactions, you know, but yeah, it definitely felt like a case of just too many wrestlers, you know, especially with the style that they did the match, you know.
Yeah.
I get it. It might have been more chaotic to have one member from each team, but like, I don't know. It's always super just confusing for me to follow a match like this where it's like, all right, two people are in, and you gotta, you know, I don't know. To me, it just doesn't really make that sense to want another team to tag in for you. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. But I found myself tracking Metaphor because I was excited about them. Like if I'm gonna root for somebody, I'm gonna root for them or Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Those are the people I were rooting for.
Yeah, I will say this match definitely was because you know, on the other channel, you know, I've been trying to think of like year end stuff. And
Yeah.
the one that I've mainly been struggling with is my like most improved category because I'm like, well, who's really like improving? Because like at least for me, like my criteria for that isn't necessarily like, you know, take like kind of like in the basketball sense where like it's expected that like if you win the most improved, it's because you took like a huge leap. You went from someone who was on the bench to the starting five, you know, playing meaningful minutes, giving meaningful points, you know. But like to me, it's like maybe I've always said like for that award, it's like maybe it's just simply you had a better year this year than the previous year, you
Uh
know.
huh.
And this match really made me look at Piper and Chelsea because I'm like I've known they were good. I really enjoyed their previous works, you know. But like this year alone, I felt like they've just really made this team work a lot, you know. Like, and
Yeah.
I've been really impressed, and like they've just been real funny to watch, especially you know they're real entertaining. So they're definitely in that running for me because I really enjoyed their work this year.
Commentary again coming in clutch to remind me that those two were tag team champions at one point. I don't remember.
Yeah, I only remember. I forget. I can't even tell you when it was. I just remember like I remember them having the titles, but I couldn't tell you when it was, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been enjoying their work a lot. And I have to give the same props to Lash Legend, who, you know, I remember her debut on NXT. And, you
Yeah.
know, much like a lot of the New Age NXT, like when it was first starting off, I remember a lot of their debuts being really rough, not to their own fault, but really creative. Like, I always remember Braun Breaker's debut and how, like, in nonsensical in a way I want to say, because like it was very confusing on that like first episode of NXT 2.0 where like he shows up, you know, interrupting LA Knight, and like I always remember, because I was like, man, this seems like a really awkward, weird way to introduce someone, you know. And then like he ends NXT confronting Tommaso Ciampa in like a very serious manner compared to opening the show like in a very like humorous way. So I was like,
Yeah.
I always remember a lot of those first ones from 2.0 where I'm just like, man, their debuts were really awkward, and it's nice to see them at the point now where it's like they're really fleshed out in their characters, they're really more confident in their work, you know.
I'll take your word for it, Jack. But I agree. Like I saw Lash Legend and what was that match that Shawn Michaels came up with last year?
The Iron Survivor
match, the Iron Survivor match. She was in she destroyed the women's one, right? And I'm like, oh goodness, I heard rumor and whispers about this Lash Legend, and I got to see it for myself. So to see her throw around Jakara Jackson the way she did, that was really cool. Love tag team spots. Love tag teams that look like they're a team, and love spots that involve two people. Goodness. Braun Breaker, you know, he's not even on this show, Jack. Pause to give you that look. And, you know, I'll give it to him that when he was debuting, they weren't sure what NXT was going to be. They weren't sure what he was going to be, but they were certain he wasn't going to be a Steiner, you know? So, like, I'm sure really, like you described, hampered his debut. We are here several years later, and I don't get it still. All I know him to be is one of the worst spears in this company that's got a lot of them.
Yeah. And you mentioned, you know, tag teams looking like tag teams. Got to go back to commentary again. They're all on Bianca and Jade's case about not looking like a real tag team despite being tag champions.
Corey Graves, oh my. Commentary is like a highlight of the night. Says that they both come out to different songs. And he goes, like Roman and Jay. And I don't know what's up Michael Cole's, you know, nonsense, but he goes, I think you're reaching, Corey. And I'm like, what? What?
Oh, man. But yeah, that was an interesting point to be made, you know, especially because really, this entire time, my dad's just been wondering when are they going to break the two of them up. Not because he wants to see them broken up, but he's like, you know it's going to happen, so like, when does it happen?
Something that WWE does very well in this match, this multi-person, 8 women, right, is it teases, you know, you and your dad and I were waiting for Jade versus Bianca. But what it tantalizes us with, Jack, is Jade versus Lash Legend, which you're like, oh my. That's quite the powerhouse affair there.
Yeah, and they tease that quite a lot. But in the end,
the spot of the match, of course, comes with Piper crushing her own team partner because shenanigans. Oh, that team.
And then, what's it called? Bianca and Jade take out Piper with their finisher for the win. They retain. Chaotic match, you know. Couple spots here or there that don't hit, but pretty good match, you know.
Yeah, if there was a couple of spots that didn't hit, like overall, we're still net positive. There was a lot of fun to be had in this match, and we're 2 matches in, Jack, and I go, hey, I'm having a good time. A little funky that we've seen 14 wrestlers. But here we go.
Yeah, we move on to the next match. Seth Rollins versus the guy you saw over here on my desk, Bronson Reed. And I'm only now learning that it was an unsanctioned match.
Really?
I don't know if I just didn't hear it, but I didn't know it was unsanctioned.
Kevin Owens and Randy Orton was unsanctioned, wasn't it? I don't know. You could be right, Jack. I think it's Oh, so I guess the referee is there just to count the pin.
Yeah,
And there is, you know, I think things going on that would have ended a normal match that did not.
yeah.
What
But
do you think of the match?
I thought it was pretty good. I was very excited for this one after the work the two had been putting in. Um, I was very excited, especially because it seemed like Rollins was very rejuvenated since coming back.
Yeah.
Some, I think, was it him? I don't know. I heard some rumblings that he also took part in like the stem cell treatments. So
Yeah.
seems like that stuff's working. We heard Sammy went for it too. I think one of the Viking Raiders, Ray, obviously has been using it a lot. So I mean, hey, if it's working for a lot of these guys, and there's no dire consequences to using it in terms of their health, I welcome it. But yeah, definitely was very pleased by this match. All right, we are back. Technical difficulties once again. I think that's 2 episodes in a row. I think the last one was on my part though.
All right.
We're even.
Yeah, we're batting 500.
Yeah, but okay, we're back. Was just talking about, to catch Mr. Solis up before he cut out. I was talking about Rollins Reed, and I was saying about the stem cell stuff. That's what it was. And I was saying, as long as there's no dire consequences, to these people's health for using it, I welcome it. Because, like I said, Seth Rollins has seemed very rejuvenated. But
As rejuvenated as a man could be who hasn't wrestled since July. Again, commentary. Goodness, filling in the blanks.
yeah,
Hasn't wrestled since the summer. That match against Damian Priest that knocked out Damian.
yeah, and what's it called? Like I, or like my dad and I mentioned though, even though he's doing this, again, I can't remember if I the report I saw, I can't remember if it said Seth Rollins was one of them. I know I remember Sammy being mentioned. I can't remember Rollins, but even still, he still worries me a bit with some of these moves that he does because I'm just like, as a guy who has had all these, injury bugs this year alone carrying over from last year, but then that horrific injury he suffered early on in his career in the WWE, it still makes me wonder, why does he do some of these moves? Like when he like jumps off the top rope and lands on his knees, or lands on his feet and puts all that pressure on his knees. I'm just like, I don't know if I would be doing that after the injury history that you have.
100%, Jack. Something else that I found myself enjoying, he and Bronson Reed going at it. Like, have you ever seen a match, Jack, where the two guys are like out of breath and you like, I don't know, you feel it's kind of unwarranted? You're like, you've been wrestling for like 10 minutes. Like what's going on? Like, they either putting it on or. Anyway, just to see how exacerbated he is, and it's Bronson Reed, everything just made sense and it felt good. It was very satisfying. I was like, yeah, be out of breath. However long you've been wrestling, that man's huge.
Yeah. Um, what's it called? There was a spot on the ringside. I think it was ringside. I forget what it was. I'm blanking on it, but I really enjoyed this one. Uh, Maybe not top 10 worthy, but I really enjoyed it nonetheless.
I was watching this, Jack, wanting to put it in my top 10. Like
Same.
you, I don't think it's going to be there. And I think you can guess why. But there's a lot, like Bronson Reed gets a lot of offense in, a lot of big offense. And some that were surprising, like the Samoan drop off the second rope. That was 100% something I thought Seth was going to wiggle out of, spin and twist and turn around until a counter. Nah, that man just ate a bunch of Bronson Reed to the mat.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, and it was funny because there was, that was one of the moves where he hits like that, almost like that bonsai drop type, move on Rollins where like he like sits on his chest. And my
Yes.
dad makes the comment, I don't know what I would rather take, that or the tsunami.
Yes. Yes. Goodness gracious. He had a Death Valley driver, and like he was doing something there where he's like trying to pin. Seth kicks out, and he does that like obnoxious thinking about it. But what he does next is like a very calculated move. Like, all right, let's try this, and he hits a big old move, and it doesn't work. And I don't know. There's something that it was there was something to follow, and it made sense. He
Yeah.
couldn't put down this guy. And he puts down people fast and easy. And this wasn't coming fast and easy, and that was frustrating.
Yeah. I definitely like the way they played into that, you know. Um, but I think the same reason you might not put it in the top 10 is the reason why I may also not put it in the top 10. Although, you know, other reasons being like it was good, it just didn't reach certain peaks worthy of top 10, you know. But I definitely got to say not necessarily the finish, but the outcome is
Of course, 1,000%. Why is Seth Rollins beating Giant Bronson Reed, a man 3 times his size? He put him out forever. I mean, I guess he's got to like be babyface wins against a monster, but come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. My dad even said the same thing where he was like, does Seth need this, you know? Like that was our whole discussion and our like predictions that him and I do. He was like, I don't think Seth needs this, you know, like maybe if he wins the second match, because like if they have a second match, but like his first match, does he need this win more than Bronson, you know? And it just, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me, especially like you said, he hasn't wrestled since the summer, you know. It kind of reminds me of when Roddy and Kyle wrestled earlier this year for AEW. I think it was at Dynasty, where it's like, I liked the match, but I kind of wanted to see them lean more into the fact that, like, hey, Kyle's been out for almost, like, 2 years, you know? Like, had it been just a couple months later, it would have been 2 years that he had been out. Let's lean into that whole he's rusty factor, you know? Like, I would have liked to seen that a bit more with Seth, you know? I did like a lot of his spots, but I definitely would have liked to see that play into the story of, like, hey, Bronson beats him not only because he's bigger, you know, and stronger, but Seth's rusty coming back not only from not wrestling since the summer, but like he was still recovering from all his injuries prior to that.
And they try, I think, Jack, to save face by having Bronson stand up in the middle of the ring, right? Like I'm still ready to go, even though you put me down for 3, whatever. And I don't know. That was very disheartening. And I think if you're gonna beat him, but you want to keep him strong, brother, he should have lost by count out after the stomp on the stairs outside. I don't know why you just don't let him sit out there and be counted out.
Yeah.
You brought him in just to beat him clean.
Yeah. Yeah, I really wish wrestling would like take more inspiration from like real life, you know, because like going back to the whole injury thing, it's like you see that with like a lot of players where it's like if they're injury prone in their career, it's like they always have that label and they're always like struggling to fight it, you know. I would like to see a character arc like that for Seth as a guy who's gone through so many injuries, you know, has had to fight through hurt, you know, played through hurt. You know, I would like to see that incorporated more in his character and like even in a story where it's like he has to fight the injury prone, you know, label. He has to like kind of show that he can. Now, obviously, injuries can happen at any point, just like in real life. So it's like you can't really control that with a story. But like I would like to see that weigh into his character more so now, especially as he gets up there in age. You know, it's like I would like to see that factor into his character more.
And I would really like to see Bronson Reed win.
Yeah, very much so. You know how my dad likes to tout that he was on the LA Knight bandwagon first back in his days in NXT.
Yeah.
You know me. You've heard it since 2020. I've been a fan of Bronson Reed.
No, 100%. You liked him when he was Jonah.
Yeah. So, would very much like to see this man get a win. Been supporting him for a while. I got I think like 4 shirts of his because you gave me one, and then I have 2 others of his.
Put him against Braun Breaker. Let Braun Breaker pretend like he's going to spear him. Let him bounce off Bronson Reed. Tsunami later, Intercontinental Champion. We can all get behind.
Yeah, most definitely, I can get behind that. But from here, we move on to our next match. the first of the Crown Jewel championships. It is Liv Morgan versus Nia Jax.
Now,
And
Jack, here again, I'm going to call out the pacing of this card that had 7 matches on it. I felt a little shook that right after the Bronson Reed, I'm very big, David versus Goliath match, we have a very similar dynamic immediately after.
yeah, and the other thing too, I'm just not at all excited for this match. And this matchup, I just didn't think it was interesting or favorable, and nothing in the build up, at least through the highlights I saw, made me interested in it, you know?
Is it because it's heel versus heel?
I don't even think it's just that. I just think their characters don't really work together in a feud, even if it's just a short one. And, like, I don't know, I'm just like, it's kind of like that thing where you're just like not interested in seeing two wrestlers interact with each other. Like, you got wrestlers that you want to see wrestle each other, and this one I'm just like, what is this match gonna be like, and does that match interest me?
It's well, with the dynamic is the Bronson Reed Rollins match that we just got our fill of, and this is more of the same. And what makes both of these particular wrestlers interesting are in the back waiting for their cue. Because really, you're right, Jack. I'm not 100% behind a Nia Jax match. I am looking and waiting for Tiffany Stratton to do something interesting. And then you got Liv on her revenge tour without Dom and Raquel. Why? That's like the whole package, but we're gonna pretend like they're not here. That's absurd. They're gonna come out, Jack. Of course, we're all waiting for that moment. We're really all just waiting for that moment. And
Yeah,
until then, it's a lot of like the Bronson Reed match. I'm gonna toss you around because I'm very big.
yeah. And the other thing that like my dad and I were trying to figure out with like predictions is obviously like who's gonna win. And like, my dad was like, I think Nia and Gunther both win.
Uh huh.
And I was telling him like that's kind of the outcome I want as well. But are they just gonna run back the King and Queen of the Ring winners?
That's a million percent, Jack. What we have found ourselves in. A repeat of King and Queen of the Ring that was only in May.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
May.
was very interested to see how this one goes. But what'd you think, sir?
I mean, once Tiffany Stratton's music hit, she has an amazing song, Jack. It does what you want a song to do. It surprises you. The lights are bright and colorful, and the crowd. I've been shouting the commentary out this whole podcast episode, Jack, but the crowd deserve an honorable mention as well because it's crazy. Tiffany's going to cash in. Nia scares her away. She starts to walk away. But when she starts to look like she's thinking about it again, Jack, the crowd are literally cheering her on and getting louder the closer she gets to the ring. It's wild. It's like she's playing hot and cold with them people, and they're like, warmer, warmer. My favorite, Nia's like chasing her down, going, what are you doing? And there's this little boy in the front row. Did you see him? Little chubby boy with the glasses going, she's going to cash in on you.
I didn't see that.
He's super cute.
Oh man, but yeah, I think you kind of sum it up perfectly. Where it's just like it's kind of like the Bloodline matches of old, where it's just like I don't care about this match, or like the match doesn't really start until all these other pieces come into play.
Yeah, it is very much so like that. And here comes Raquel, and here comes Dom. It makes sense that Liv, with their help, wins this match.
Yeah, it's like my dad was saying. It's like the only way she beats her is if like they get all this help, and that's how she ends up
Yes.
winning.
And she does.
Not very interesting to me at the very least. I just being
But
100% honest.
But Jack, you want to talk about most improved, right? 1 year to the next. Like if you look at Liv now compared to in January when she was in that elimination chamber or at Royal Rumble as like a throwaway surprise. I mean, look how far we've come, Jack. Look at this. Would you look at us like Paul Rudd on that Hot Ones episode? She's got the title. She's got the guy. She has a friend. She has not only the Women's World Heavyweight Championship, but now a shiny Saudi Arabian ring.
That is way too big for her. or not the
And she
ring, the belt, the
and she
belt.
killed Rhea Ripley. Like really, Jack. Like she's just racking up all the accomplishments.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
all the accomplishments to match all the injuries she's inflicted on Rhea.
Oof. Oof.
Oh man. But moving on to our next one, it is Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens.
In a straight up singles match, which you love to see.
Yeah. And sir, what did you think of the match?
Non match?
Yeah, non-match. That's what I was waiting for you to say.
I wanted to be disappointed by like the rug being pulled out from underneath us. They did a lot. This is the most eventful non-match like I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Like it's funny, the match never starts, but Randy still hits old school Randy Orton off the ropes. Vintage Orton, the DDT.
Yeah. Yeah, the two of them go back and forth. You see Owens getting the chair. The refs start coming out. Adam Pearce comes out and eats a stunner, I believe.
The ref eats a stunner.
Oh, yeah, it's the ref.
Adam Pearce RKO.
Yeah, there we go.
And you know what I like, Jack? This is a tiny little detail. I like that they're getting out of hand, and the refs start to try to break things up. When the refs can't get it done, the agents come out. And when Sean Davari gets chucked into the corner and Jamie Noble gets like slapped across the face for his efforts, then the GMs come out. It's funny when they all come out at once. It really kind of dilutes everything and nothing matters. But like, there's this escalation where once Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce are out there, it's because the other guys couldn't get it done.
Yeah. But little non-match, fun little brawl to happen on the show, and keeps things moving along.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, very interested to see what they do at Survivor Series. More than likely is where those two fight again.
I heard whispers and rumors that it'd be Saturday night main event in December.
Interesting.
And you know what? You know what, Jack? Like, so this is a 7-match card. We were surprised by at the beginning. This is a non-match, but we're still coming out kind of net positive, right? If this were a 4-match card and this was one of them, I'd be upset.
Yeah. But we move on to our next match on the night, another title match. We have LA Knight defending the U.S. title against Andrade and Carmelo Hayes. Triple threat for the U.S. title. Hayes and Andrade were just in a best-of-7 series, tied up 3 apiece before the last match that was supposed to decide, and it ended with LA Knight interfering, thus resulting, or not interfering, but basically, I think it ended up being like, I can't remember what it was. Was it like a double count out or something? I don't remember exactly what it was. LA Knight was like special ref, so he interferes in like the deciding factor of this match, and that leads to Nick Aldis making this a triple threat for LA Knight's title.
Have you ever heard the claim that LA Knight is a ripoff of The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin?
I actually haven't heard that one.
Well, some people have made a claim that a lot of what people like is in-your-face attitude, is charisma. It reminds us all of a better time when The Rock and Stone Cold did it first, right? Leather vest and let me talk to you. I didn't see it, but that SmackDown match that he interfered with, where he was the referee, was a little reminiscent of a 1-2, it doesn't matter if I count to 3 moment that didn't quite hit the same because, yeah.
But what were your thoughts on this match, sir?
I don't know if you're allowed to call it a best-of-7 if they didn't announce it before the first match. They just kept putting these two guys together. And honestly, Jack, I remember liking one of them more than the others, but I was really over it by the fourth. And so, like, I came in with some cynicism. I wanted to like the match. I also wanted Andrade to win. But, it was a busy affair. I feel bad for Carmelo Hayes. And, there was a lot of... It was like the tag match. They're trying to do things. Some work, some didn't. I had a good time.
Yeah, I felt, not to be that type of person, but I felt like the last couple minutes of this match is where like things really, ramped up and got like really good, but like
Uh,
can't say I was too interested in the entire match.
yeah. You know, when Andrade hits his fake out elbow, it never looks bad, Jack. Like it looks good every time, and all I want him to do is like I want him to enter the Rumble and hit it like Stone Cold hitting stunners in the Invasion in 2001, just one after another after another. But then also the finish I thought was it was more clever than I gave any of these guys credit for.
Yeah, I agree. That finish was crazy.
It was a blunt force trauma to both men at the same time in the middle of a Hurricane Rana. It worked. It worked.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Your brother's favorite wrestler wins and retains his U.S. championship. Yeah.
Yeah. And with that, we move on to the main event, Gunther versus Cody Rhodes for the men's Crown Jewel Championship.
You're going to have to help me with this one, Jack. We're Undertaker, Brock Lesnar, WrestleMania 30, because both times I watched this show, Jack, I fell asleep during the main event.
Yeah, even though it was an early show, I kind of struggled with this one a bit too. I definitely liked a bit of it, but I don't know, something felt a bit off at times. It's very
Yeah.
reminiscent of the Orton match at King and Queen of the Ring, where I was just like, it was a pretty long match, but it also kind of just went by.
Yeah, dude. It's funny that you compare it to the Orton Gunther match, right? Because like Gunther is an old school kind of guy, right? And like he paired so well with Orton, and Orton is very similar to Cody. They're both very old school kind of guys. So this is an old school kind of match with literally the least amount of flair of the whole night, and you're ending the night with it.
Yeah, and a lot of that is due to the sort of approach Gunther took with this match, and that was that he wanted to he wanted to beat Cody with the sleeper, and so a lot of this match is him trying to lock it in, getting it locked in, and Cody trying to counter, trying to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of the story is like Gunther kind of being very stubborn, where it's like he has Cody beat at many different points, but he really wants that sleeper to get this win.
I was asleep, Jack, literally. I watched it at two different times of 2 different days and fell asleep during this match.
Yeah. But, they go back and forth. And again, it's one of those matches where I don't know if I like the finish or not.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, if this were a 4-match card, I'd have hated it.
Yeah.
This was clever 30 years ago, Jack, but they're both a couple of wrestling nerds. Them and Punk are in the back giggling like little schoolgirls going, I bet we could do the Bret Hart thing.
Yeah, that's the thing that frustrates me is that, like, hey, this would be cool if we hadn't seen it with, I think Darby and Joe did it last year probably.
Yeah.
Shayna and Kyrie did it a couple years ago in NXT. I think Becky did it with Shayna at the Pandemic Mania. It's the spot where Gunther tries to lock in the sleeper and Cody rolls it into a pin to get the win. We've seen it happen to Shayna. Like I said, I'm more than sure it happened to Joe. I'm trying to even remember.
We have to look this up, Jack, because how did Sammy beat Gunther at WrestleMania this year? How quick to the draw are you in that Google search?
Well, I think I can remember it from memory that he hits the top rope brainbuster and then the haluva kick.
He does? Okay. I thought Sammy had done the same stupid sleeper, psych, I got you move.
No. Sammy's was actually definitive.
I remember the brainbuster on the top rope. You're right. You're right. But this is a match, Jack, that definitely could have dealt with a couple of shenanigans, right? I was, waiting for Goldberg to come out and ruin things for the young whippersnapper who gave him the business in Atlanta in October. You got Ludwig Kaiser on the payroll, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then Cody doesn't have any friends. So what are you gonna do? Metro Boomin? He could have come out. I don't know. But yeah, Jack. Like I woke up in time to see the Bret Hart finish, and I guess he got one over on Gunther. Kinda. Gunther's a man of integrity, so he's like, ah.
You got me.
You got me.
Oh man, yeah. I don't know. This is probably lower on the list in terms of pay per views this year. Definitely not the lowest.
Mm.
I'm trying to remember what was like a card we really dogged on. Um,
Money in the Bank.
yeah, I think Money in the Bank was one. I can't remember about Bad Blood. I know we really liked Drew and Punk, but I think we weren't
Yeah.
really high on Bad Blood because I think by the end of the night, I think you said we were like 2 for 5.
Oh, I remember that. That sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So, looking through the rest of the year that I have pulled up here, can't remember too much about Elimination Chamber. But so like it's definitely down there, but like it's not the worst of the year. But like I don't know, it was a very non-consequential show.
Yeah. I mean, did any titles change?
No.
Right? And like you said, we got a repeat of the King and Queen of the Ring finals that we didn't ask for.
Yeah. And then not too many titles there.
Maybe the most consequential thing that happened actually was Solo pinning Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
I saw an article before the show, Jack, that said here are 5 things WWE shouldn't do, and the number one thing was let Solo pin Roman Reigns. Like he should have pinned Jimmy, he should have pinned Jay, Jacob should have pinned anybody but Roman, but they pinned Roman, and oh my.
Hey, but it works out because it adds some level of interest for the war games that we're building up to.
Yes, it's true.
Because you already know Roman's gonna be going crazy trying to get his win back.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, but so later this month is Survivor Series. December is a Saturday night main event.
Which I hope is on Peacock. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, I hope it's an actual pay-per-view and not like just a live show.
Yeah.
And then that closes out the year. AEW has Full Gear coming up and probably World's End again with the C2 tournament again, which I'll be locked
I would
into.
think so. Yeah, with Okada coming in as the defending champion, that should be interesting.
And I'm really interested to see who wins that, and who potentially beats him, because everyone was kind of pretty sure it was going to be Takeshita, because it seemed like that's where they were leaning, and then they reversed and went with the international title for him.
Yeah. Jack, did you see what happened over across the Pacific in Japan? I hate it when this happens, Jack. I didn't realize there was a show of this magnitude, Power Struggle. Like, why am I supposed to know that I should tune into Power Struggle? Like, I don't care about the tag league, thing that they do every fall, but Power Struggle happened, Jack. Did you hear what happened?
No, it reminds me of like when sometimes people are like, "Oh, you should check out this match that happened on one of the Road 2 shows." I'm like, who's watching the Road 2 shows? It's always multi-man matches.
100,000%, Jack. And this, like they got to get good at telegraphing this so that I know to tune in. But AEW is another one that's just like burning stories and moments on Wednesday. You know what I mean? But Jack, Zack Sabre Jr., who you may or may not know is the IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Yes.
He successfully defeats, I think, Shingo.
I didn't even know that happened.
Who should he be interrupted by, Jack? Who should he be challenged for not Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasty? Guess.
Uh,
I'll give you a hint. Somebody who's not Japanese.
Interesting. So it's probably one of the companies collaborating. Can't really think of who maybe from AEW would match up well in terms of style, But then again, they might want to go outside the box. So But then again, it's the IWGP World Title. You can't just throw anyone in there. I don't know.
Ricochet.
Oh, interesting.
Very, right?
Yeah.
Ricochet came out, hit like a phenomenal forearm, made it clear that the night after Wrestle Kingdom, he's challenging for the title. But who's going to challenge at Wrestle Kingdom, Jack?
That
He
one
burnt,
I saw.
he burnt his G1 Climax victory to win it in October against the Naito. So who's it going to be? It's going to be Shota Umino.
That the reason I saw it was because of the pure disappointment from New Japan fans. At least on the western side of their
I'm
fans.
disappointed, Jack. I'm wildly disappointed. Like, I get it. I get what you see in him and what you want him to be. This ain't it. He ain't him.
Yeah, he was on my short list for the 2023 most improved, and like after watching like bits and pieces of this year, I'm just like, man, how do you go from like being on that short list to like somehow not improve? How do you go from improving that entire year to now just getting worse?
Who would you have been? Who would you have put against Zack Sabre Jr. Jack in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom?
Honestly, I don't know. Like,
I mean,
because
I say they have this funny like break glass in an emergency, like this like it's this like crutch, when like they're in a bind. Evil, just put them against Evil. TMDK versus the House of Torture. Like, let people sweat it out that you're gonna put it on him again. He's the Jeff Jarrett of Japan.
Yeah,
Stop threatening us.
Yeah, cause I think back to the video I did on Takesha's G1, and I think back to the thoughts I had, and that's like they need to build up some new people for that main event scene, But the issue is the guys they're trying to build up, they're just not there yet, Like Shota Umino's not there yet. Ren Narita's not there yet. Yuya just got injured, and Suji is like the one that's made like the most leaps. The one that's like you would think is like not necessarily ready for that position, but he's making strides. But even then, there's still some things where you're just like you're still waiting for a bit more out of him to really get to that point, So it's like you can't rely on none of the young guys right now, even though you need to. Like, I saw people predicting that they were going to have one of them beat Naito at the Dome because they needed some of the young guys to, like, breathe life. You're already wasting most of the established ones like Shingo early on, so it's like...
Did I see this correctly? Did Sonata join Bullet Club?
I did see that as well.
You should have put Sonata. Do that. If he's now if he's like, I lost my 5 guys and I got nothing without a group, so I'm in a group. Dave Finlay? That'd have been interesting. That'd have been way more interesting than Shota. If Jack, it's funny that Ricochet came out and challenged him for the night after Wrestle Kingdom, and he almost basically said, after you beat the guy that you're going to beat at Wrestle Kingdom, I'm going to challenge you next. Like, there's no urgency or there's no doubt. It's like, I'm going to challenge whoever wins. He's like, I'm going to fight you the next night. If it's that matter of fact, Shibata, just put him against Shibata. Just let Shibata have his moment.
Or you want to talk about true break glass? Just give him Goto.
Goto.
Yeah. Man, or if he didn't have the international title, I would have just been like, Japan, pay whatever you want to get Takeshita.
That company loves a title versus title. Do that.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I'm gonna watch, and I'm gonna temper my cynicism. They can have match of the year, Jack 2025.
Yeah, I was just about to say, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Solis's 2025 match of the year: Shota Umino versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, but yeah, definitely very interested for the future in New Japan because I'm just like, man, they need some fresh blood up there, and it's like, I want to have faith in them.
But the heavyweight division needs some stem cells. That's what it needs.
Yeah, Tanahashi needs them stem cells. Naito needs them stem cells. Man, I just wonder what they're gonna do in the coming year because it's like who beats Zack? You know, I assume one of the young guys, but I'm just like, man, I don't know. Man, they need a lot of help, and Takeshita seems like that help, but over in AEW. I'm just saying, I'm
throwing my hands up, audience.
Yeah, I don't want to anger people and make it seem like AEW isn't a good place for Takeshita, but like I'm just saying, watch his G1 performance and just tell me that you don't think he's a perfect fit for New Japan's landscape right now, and how much he could drastically help them out right now.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
Oh man.
How are you gonna watch Full Gear?
More than likely. It'll all depend on the show itself, on if it's, podcast coverage worthy, but more than likely gonna watch it. If anything, just have it on in the background,
Right on.
I'm trying to watch more wrestling because, as I told my dad, I just am really at a standstill with wrestling right now, where I'm looking at that end of year time and I'm just like, I don't know what my top 10 matches are. I have my number 1 match just by default, basically, but I'm looking at these other ones. I'm just like, okay, I think this one here, but like I can't decide on placements. I can't decide what I really want in the top 10,
Yeah.
So I'm just like trying to watch more wrestling, but like I'm very much at a standstill where I'm just like, man, I don't know what's going on, but this year, despite some good wrestling, is very much a struggle picking out this top 10 and what I want to talk about at the year-end time,
I'll tell you what, Jack, as I'm a bit of a creative, right? Where I come and go in the visual arts. You dabble in the written expression, right? I think when you try to make something for the purposes of making something, you can get yourself in a rut, right? You're not doing something you enjoy because you enjoy doing it. It's what I always caution kids or friends who want to turn a thing they do as a side hustle. I always tell them, hey man, that's you got so little in this world. Don't take that away from yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hear you. I'd love to watch more wrestling, if only because I know that when I watch wrestling, I enjoy it. And you know what I found myself doing? Saudi Arabia show, Crown Jewel, is like that Bronson Reed Seth Rollins match. I found my work. I found school creeping into my head, and I thought, what's a mark of a good match, Jack? You know what, I can say definitively about the matches that I want to talk to you about in December? When I'm watching them, I ain't thinking of nobody and nothing. I am in it. But when I'm watching, the 4th Bloodline match of the year, I'm going, I got a grade.
Yeah. Or, I think back to some of those pandemic shows where I was just like, man, if we weren't covering this, I would not be watching this right now.
Oh my. Yes, sir.
Yeah. But so, yeah, I'm definitely not trying to, I told, I said it on the other channel. I was like, I feel bad because I'm just giving you guys Philly content right now. I haven't made a music video or a wrestling video in a while. But I was like, you can't blame me when I just don't feel inspired to write anything about wrestling. I have ideas, but it's none of them are drawing me to do it, and I don't want to write up a script just to write. The matches I've written about, the music I've written about, it's because it called to me, it called to me. I really wanted to write about it,
Yeah.
So it's I'm waiting for that match to come, and nothing's coming. So I'm just like, hey, if nothing comes till the end of the year, then you just got to put up with it for now, because right now wrestling is not inspiring me to write.
No, sir. I hear that.
Is the rumors true that ECW might come back?
I haven't even heard those rumors.
I saw a thing online that's saying ECW might return to WWE.
That could not be further from the truth. They have
I'm just saying,
2 NXT shows at that ECW arena.
I don't know if I'm ready to see Triple H in a do-rag holding the ECW championship, you know? I can't go through that.
I saw somebody said, "Hey, NXT had that show at the ECW arena. Can we have them do a WCW tribute at the Mall of America?"
Hey, so, before you guys go, remember that Macho Man thing I sent you about him dissing Hulk Hogan in a song?
Yes.
He actually has an album. I found it on Spotify. That's an actual song.
You didn't know anything about this before you saw that?
No, I honestly didn't know.
Marco, I remember very clearly when he put that out in real time, sincerely. Like, we were all watching TV and they were like, "Oh, do you know Macho Man's rapping?" You're like, "What?" And he go, "Oh, and he's digging into Hogan." And this is in 99 or 98 when, like, there's no internet. We just know there's bad blood between those guys and he's calling him out. And, like, every track.
My favorite line from that song, Be a Man, is, "All your movies go straight to DVD. I did a cameo on Spider-Man." That was just wild hearing that.
You know what's my equivalent of that, sir? I remember John Cena selling 143 albums first week.
Wow.
Or not 143, sorry. 143,000 first
I
week.
think I know what you meant. You remember when he, again, was the recording artist.
Yeah.
Macho Man walked so John Cena could run.
Macho Man was it was a bet. Like, we were all worried about the old Macho Man. We were right.
Yeah. I'll never forget that. John Cena selling 140,000 copies in his first week.
Like
debuting at number 15 on the Billboard 200. Went on to become certified platinum with over 1.3 million copies.
Platinum?
Who's doing it like John Cena?
Goodness gracious. I bet I know somebody who has that album. I don't.
Oh, man.
I don't know. Beethoven's really quiet since both of them came out with those albums.
That's hilarious. Even more hilarious is the fact that you didn't know Macho Man had a rap album.
Hey, I didn't even know Eddie Murphy made an album either until my dad showed me that one song.
Oh, man. But any final thoughts, sir?
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed the show, and I enjoyed talking to you as always.
Yeah. This is our shortest episode of the season, but with the card we were given, can you blame us?
I'm just saying, we even fit in some analysis of AEW and New Japan.
Yeah, and curse the fact that it is the shortest, because now Triple H is going to look at this and go, "See, this is why I give you 5-match cards. If I do anything above, you guys claim it's boring." Oh yeah, sure, it's our fault. It's not your fault for the product you're putting on. Sure. But with that all being said, thank you all for joining for this episode. We'll catch you all next time, whether it's Full Gear or Survivor Series, whatever it may be. If Saturday Night Main Event is an actual pay-per-view, we'll be there to cover it. And then,
Let's go.
Of course, the legendary top 10 matches of the year. Been doing it since 2020. Here we are for the next installment. You ready, sir?
Oh, I'm ready. I've got my 10, and I've just been waiting for something to sneak in at the last second. I'm excited to share it with you, sir.
Yeah, but with that all being said, thank you all for joining for this one, and we'll catch you on the next one.